last 24 hours. Powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
Good morning, today is Yid Aleph Kislev Tufshin Paivuv, Monday, Parshas Vayishlach, and it's December 1, and the last month of Tufshin 25, like my Rebbe likes to say, the Pittsburgh Rebbe. He was just here for Shabbos. We had a lovely Shabbos by my friend Sally Magulius in Montebello. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I'm your host on Edge. Let's jump into the news, shall we? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just made a historic move to end his legal troubles. He formally asked President Isaac Herzog for a full pardon in his ongoing corruption trial, arguing it is the only way to heal the nation's internal divisions and help him focus on Israel's safety and security needs. The request does not include an admission of guilt, however, even though President Herzog has made it very clear that remorse is required for a pardon. Herzog's office called the request extraordinary, and he said he will review it very carefully after receiving legal opinions. This comes shortly after American President Donald J. Trump sent a letter also urging Herzog to clear the Prime Minister's name. He also made that statement during his speech in the Knesset. Qatar's foreign minister, in other news, says Israel shouldn't delay the next phase of the agreement just because two bodies are still missing. But Israel refuses to move forward until the bodies of police officer Ran Gvili and the Thai national Sutisak Rintallak are returned home safely. Lekvira. Hamas claims they're trying to find them. And right now the militants are working alongside Red Cross teams in Jabalia, northern Gaza, digging through the rubble to locate the remains. For those of you who remember Al-Shifa Hospital, where Hamas's base used to be underneath that hospital that was bombed recently, well, during the war, during the two-year war, I would call it, is starting to be rebuilt. Construction is heavy there. And in other news, Israel has eliminated many terrorists that have escaped that famous tunnel that they're trapped in. You remember, we reported many times on it here on Edge. U.S. envoy Tom Barrack sent a message to the Iraqi government that Israel is planning to carry out an operation soon against Hezbollah, aiming to dismantle its weapons. He also warned Baghdad of severe Israeli strike in Iraq if Iran-backed militias intervene. Let's talk about Protobyte. Their slogan is Web and App Development, 347-354-1237, simply because they're the best in the market. If you want to build yourself a web or app, software development for your business for the purpose of making money and making sure that your business operates smoothly, call Protobyte on 347-354-1237. Mention code ONEDGE for a discount. proto-byte.com. President Trump gave Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro a final choice: leave the country right now or face an invasion. Russia has already started evacuating its citizens and cancelling flights to Venezuela. Trump delivered the ultimatum directly in a phone call, warning that America will begin ground operations soon if Maduro stays. This is a massive shift because Russia has always been Maduro's strongest ally. Even if Moscow is abandoning him to save their own people, it shows the regime is likely about to collapse. Trump has declared that Venezuela's airspace is officially closed, saying, "Do not fly in or out," signaling the attack could happen at any given moment. A massive corruption scandal in Kiev is threatening to blow up the peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, just as negotiations are starting to warm up a little bit. President Trump's team just finished a critical meeting in Florida with Ukrainian officials, but the talks aren't going anywhere yet because President Zelensky's right-hand man was forced to quit days before the trip. Andrei Yermak, the chief of staff, right-hand man of Zelensky, resigned after anti-corruption police raided his home in connection with a $100 million kickback scheme. Investigators say officials were skimming cash from Ukraine's state-run nuclear energy company, and reports claim Yermak was even given a nickname. He was nicknamed Alibaba by the ringleaders. President Trump admitted openly that this new corruption mess is not helpful and is slowing everything down. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warned there is still a lot of work to do before any deal can be signed, despite the chaos. Zelensky just confirmed he is trying to keep things moving, saying he just got off a phone call with French President Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of 10 Downing Street in England, and Trump's envoy, the Jewish businessman Steve Witkoff, to save the negotiations. Trump announced he is cancelling 92% of executive orders from the Biden administration because they were signed by a machine and not by a man. The president stated on Truth Social, his own platform, that any document signed with an autopen is hereby terminated and has no legal power and I thank you for your attention to this matter, DJT. He argues that Biden's staff used the mechanical signing device illegally, without the former president knowing what he was approving. Trump even warned that if Biden claims he was involved in the process, and he does know about it, he will be brought up on charges of perjury. This move could instantly wipe out hundreds of rules made over the last 4 years. In other news of fraud, a massive web of fraud in Minnesota has resulted in nearly 60 convictions and over $1 billion in stolen taxpayer money. Prosecutors revealed that scammers within the Somali group targeted state programs for years, billing for meals and services that never existed. Instead of feeding hungry children, that money bought luxury cars, real estate in Kenya, and was allegedly even funneled to terror groups abroad. Governor Tim Walz is facing heavy heat as outrage grows over how this happened on his watch. Republicans are demanding answers, asking why state agencies kept writing checks while red flags were popping up everywhere. President Trump has already responded to the news, threatening to revoke legal protections for Somali nationals in the state. Speaking of Minnesota and Somalia, Trump recently wrote hundreds of thousands of wrote in his Truth Social post. Hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. He went on, Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their homes, in their apartments, hoping that they'll be left alone. About the state leadership, he slammed the governor, Tim Walz. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or even both. Trump added he wants to permanently pause migration from all third world countries and deport those he deems a risk, a threat, part of his call to remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States of America. Trump also attacked Ilhan Omar, saying the worst congresswoman in our country, Ilhan Omar, who married her brother, always wrapped in a swaddling hijab, probably came into the USA illegally, in his words, and argued she should be deported. Let's talk about your business. You want to be able to stay in business and be a successful businessman and grow your business. David Wanounou. Rep David Wanounou, the Trepper Plan. Get in touch with him. He's a wonderful person and he's great at making you shine, making your business make money. David at thetrepperplan.com, 845-414-8100. Again, the number is 845-414-8100. Do not forget to mention On Edge for a great deal. 10 children have reportedly died because of the COVID-19 vaccine. A senior official at the FDA is now admitting there is a direct link between the shots and these tragic deaths. This comes from an internal review inside the agency itself. The official is demanding much stricter supervision on vaccines right now. He says the agency must look closely at safety to make sure this never happens again. The death toll from a massive apartment fire that we reported on Edge here several times last week in Hong Kong has now risen to 146 people dead. Rescue teams are still pulling bodies from the stairwells and rooftops where terrified residents were trapped by the smoke. Investigators say the buildings were covered in cheap, flammable foam for renovations that caused the flames to spread instantly, and also obviously the bamboo scaffolding, which helped the fire spread even more. To make matters worse, we reported last week as well that officials found that the fire alarms in the complex never even went off. 13 shots were fired outside the yeshiva of Flatbush on Avenue J in Brooklyn during a gang fight last night, but Chazdei Hashem, no bystanders were hurt. Police say a fight between members of a criminal gang became a shooting at the corner of Avenue J and East 16th Street between the yeshiva Flatbush building and the Jewish Touro College campus. Witnesses report that one gang member was struck multiple times, left with serious injuries, and it's reported to be he's paralyzed, this person. Officers found at least 13 shell casings at the scene, and a gun was later recovered on East 16th Street with the help of Flatbush Shomrim. The shooter escaped and is still not in custody, and detectives are now checking security cameras in the area as the investigation continues. Your Tuesday morning commute is about to become a slippery mess if you're not careful. The first snow of the season, well, the second snow of the season, I would say, is hitting Chestnut Ridge and Muncie tomorrow morning, right during rush hour. While the city might just get rain, we are looking at a coating of up to 3 inches of slush here in Rockland. Temperatures are dropping to freezing, so the roads will be icy and dangerous all day. So take it slow out there. Don't drive if you don't need to. This is the first time the plows and the drivers are being tested this year. New York State just made it much harder to keep your driver's license. Bucherim, Chevra, those of you who think it's a joke, a massive overhaul of traffic laws means points will now stay on your record for 24 months instead of 18. This extra time allows tickets to stack up faster, putting you at higher risk of an automatic suspension. The state also increased the penalties for specific violations. Passing a stopped school bus or speeding in a work zone is now a massive 8 points on your license. Drivers should expect insurance rates to rise, as these points will haunt your record for 2 full years. So be careful out there. A Jewish volunteer medic from Monsey helped save a passenger on Lufthansa flight and prevented an emergency landing, creating a major Kiddush Hashem. Asken Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Kaufman from Monsey, a Chaverim of Rockland County volunteer and a Hatzulah of Essex County, New Jersey medic, and also the newly elected Spring Valley Village trustee, was on a flight from Budapest to Frankfurt when a Jewish passenger suffered a serious medical episode. The flight crew began to panic and started preparing for an emergency landing, but Rabbi Yaakov Yosef quickly came over, took charge of the scene and treated the passenger. He was able to stabilize the patient enough that the flight continued safely to its destination without an emergency diversion, while other passengers watched the whole scene and saw a calm professional response from a visibly religious Jew. Let's talk about Arrive Express. 845-622-1111. 845-254-1111. Arrive Express. Wise Capital Group for your loans. Answer is yes. No closing doc loans. Mention on Edge to all of them. And get a good deal. 718-831-2168. Shawarma Delight in Spring Valley Marketplace next to Bingo. 26 Spring Valley Marketplace. 845-272-0011. Or go onto sdny.store and have yourself a wonderful good shawarma. Historic facts of the day on Edge, brought to you by The Click. Cyber Monday is the name of the online retail world when they started using in 2005 after research showed that the Monday after Thanksgiving was a huge spike in online shopping. The simple reason? People window shopped over the weekend, then went back to work on Monday with faster internet that they had at home back in the days, right? And clicked buy. There was even an earlier attempt at an online shopping day called White Wednesday, meant for the day before Thanksgiving. And it fits in our Parsha. Yaakov, Vayishlach Yaakov Maluchim. Yaakov sends things ahead and plans smart. Joking. The point is that it's an interesting thing to see. Cyber Monday is the modern version. Browse first, then send it through at the right moment. In other words, they browsed it before Thanksgiving and then hit the click button on Cyber Monday. But anyway, it's a funny comparison. And with that, my friends, have yourselves a wonderful day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.